Hello everybody, welcome back into the channel. So I have a little bit of work that I'm doing. The store is open for business and I have some work that I'm getting done, and I figured that I would make it a little bit more interesting by telling you guys a little bit of a story, little story time while I price out some stuff. So I had mentioned before in the video that I just recently did talking about coming back and why I was gone and all of that. Well, we have changed the store model up. So we do price items out in the store. You know, we have a $1 bin, we have a $3 bin, we have wholesale items that are priced out. We also have items on shelves that are priced out, food items, stuff like that. So now when we receive gaylords or boxes, we do go through and we separate everything because we have categoried bins in the store. So I have a whole bunch of stuff over here that I need to price out for $1 for the $1 bin so that I can continue to sort through stuff, because we have a bunch of carts of stuff that's all separated and needs organized. So while I price out stuff, I wanted to tell y'all a little story. A story about the time a woman fell in our parking lot and then threatened to sue me. Yeah, she tripped over her own 2 feet in the parking lot and threatened to sue me. Story time. So as I sit here editing these clips and putting this video together, I know that you haven't even watched the whole video yet, but all I could think to myself is the moral of the story that you haven't even heard yet is have insurance. Always have business insurance. Because when you are selling to customers, or if you have a space where there is, you know, a public presence, whether it's at a flea market or a garage sale even, you open yourself up to liability. So, moral of the story, have insurance. That is all. Back to the video. Okay, so here's what happened. If you watched the video that I was talking about what happened with my landlord, I had mentioned that the week that the landlord had, you know, squeezed me for $42,000 and then more than doubled my rent, I mentioned that that week was one of the worst weeks of my life, if not the worst week of my life. Part of the reason for that was this incident also happened. So this incident happened on April Fool's Day, if you can believe it. It literally happened on April Fool's Day. I thought it was a joke. I thought it was a cruel joke that my staff was playing on me. Spoiler alert, it wasn't. So 3 days after the landlord had contacted me with that big bill, literally 3 days later, it was April Fool's Day, and I was at home trying to figure all my crap out, and I got a phone call. It was a Saturday, I think, if memory serves. I got a phone call from Leah, who at the time was my assistant store manager. She was the one that was in charge on the weekends when I wasn't there. I got a phone call from her, and she sounded very hesitant, and she said, there's a lady here who wants to talk to you. And I said, okay, what is it about? Because usually, like, I won't talk to customers on the phone. It's the kind of situation where Leah or whoever was here would handle the situation. Like, customers aren't allowed to just demand to talk to me on the phone. So the fact that Leah was telling me a customer wanted to talk to me told me it was probably something serious. And she says, this lady just fell in the parking lot and she wants to talk to you. So I was like, okay, we'll give her the phone. Again, it's April Fool's Day. I kind of thought that they were trying to play a joke on me. So I was just kind of going along with it. I'm like, okay, let me talk to this lady, whatever. Well, this lady gets on the phone and she says, hi, hello. I just wanted to let you know that I fell on your uneven sidewalk and I'm going to have to go to the hospital. And yes, I'm speaking in a mocking way. It's because this is what she literally sounded like. She sounded like, yeah, so, like she had this condescending tone in her voice. like she was going to have to do something that was an inconvenience to her, and it was my fault. But it was like this, I fell and I hit my head and I'm gonna have to go to the hospital. So I asked her when this happened, because she sounded perfectly fine. I asked her when it happened, and she said that it happened about 5 minutes ago. And I was like, and I said, okay, so I said, did you fall and then you immediately came inside? She says, yeah, I fell and I came inside and requested to talk to the owner. So then she starts telling me what happened, because I asked her specifically. I said, you know, what happened? And she says, well, you have video cameras outside, so I'm sure that you can just go look, but I'll go ahead and tell you, I was walking to my car with my mother, and I noticed that the sidewalk was so uneven that I was paying more attention to where my mother was walking. I wasn't looking, and I'm the one who tripped. Well, first of all, I thought it was a little silly that she was admitting to me that she wasn't paying attention. Why on earth would you admit that you weren't paying attention on the phone? But anyway, she said that she had tripped on the sidewalk. I asked her where exactly she was walking, because I see the sidewalk every day. I'm like, what part of the sidewalk is uneven? Where exactly did she fall? And she told me that she was parked next to the tree. Well, in our parking lot, there is an area where customers will sometimes park, but it's not a parking space. It's not in parking lines. It's literally parking on the road that runs next to the building. Like if you were to like drive back behind the building, it's not an alleyway, but I guess it's kind of like an alleyway road that goes from behind the building and loops around into the parking lot. So she admitted that she was not parked in a parking space. She said she was parked next to the tree because, quote, the handicap spots were taken, and so I parked the closest that I could find to the door. Okay, regardless of whether or not that's true, she said that she parked there and she tripped walking back to her car. So, spoiler alert, it wasn't a joke. She told me that she was going to go to the hospital because when she fell, she twisted her ankle and she hit her head. So I got her name and her number. I went ahead and told Leah to give her my contact information as well. So she had my contact information, and she said that she was going to send me a text message after she arrived at the emergency room. So after I get off the phone with her, I immediately go to the security cameras to watch what happened. And if I still have the security camera footage, I will put it here. So you could not see her fall at all. It's like she fell exactly where the cameras couldn't see. And so I figured, okay, well, I'll just wait to see what happens after she goes to the hospital, because I knew that she was going to call or text me to update, and I would find out, you know, if there was any real damage done to her, and find out, you know, what I was in for. Well, she calls me from the emergency room, and this was a while later. She calls me from the emergency room, and she tells me that she has had all of these tests done. She had a CAT scan. She had an MRI. Like, she had at least $25,000 worth of tests done. If she didn't have them done, she had them scheduled to be done on Monday. And she told me that her ankle was completely ballooned up. She couldn't walk, but yet she wouldn't send me any photos showing me that her ankle was swollen. She told me that she hit her head, and they told her that she had a concussion. Apparently she fell and she got a concussion, but when she was here, she didn't vomit. She was perfectly coherent. I asked Leah, because Leah actually saw her in person. Leah said that she looked fine. She didn't look like she was even limping. She didn't even look like she was limping. So that was all very, very frustrating. And again, I am not calling her a liar. I do think that maybe she did trip. I do think that she genuinely tripped. You could see in the video, I don't think that it was fake. It was frustrating that it happened right after view of the camera, literally right after view. It's like she walks out of the frame, and that's when you see the bag fly, and that's when she falls. So that's frustrating because there's no proof either way. There's no proof that she actually tripped because of the sidewalk, and there's no proof that she didn't trip because of the sidewalk. It is basically her at the emergency room getting all of these tests done, claiming that it was the sidewalk in front of my store, and she was a patron of my store. It was her claiming that the sidewalk is the reason why she fell, and now she's got a concussion. She's got a twisted ankle that's ballooned up, and she could barely walk, and now she's got to go have further tests done the following day. Now, before I go any further, I want to put to ease a lot of any concerns that she actually moved forward with this, because she didn't, at least not with me, because you see, outside is what's referred to as common areas. Now, if she would have fallen inside my store, then I would have been a lot more worried. Because if she falls inside the store, it's my responsibility as the business owner to make sure that there's nothing for her to trip on, keeping things picked up off the floor, making sure that there's no carpet lifted or anything that a customer can hurt themselves on. When a customer goes outside, that's no longer my responsibility, because I am not the one that concrete levels the sidewalk. That is the owner of the building's responsibility. That's why I paid those triple nets, so that the owner of the building can do things like have proper insurance for situations like this, or can do repairs to the sidewalk. Like, I know that our handicap ramp is not in the best shape. Now, the landlord has since fixed that, go figure. But I have insurance, so I wasn't necessarily worried about her suing me for tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars for her being hurt. I wasn't worried about that because I knew that where she fell was not my legal responsibility. Now, you can sue anybody for anything, right? You can sue anybody for anything at any time. So she was welcome to try to sue me for, you know, tripping outside. But would she have won? I don't think so. And even if she did win, I have insurance for that specific reason. But I didn't want to handle it at that time. You know, 3 days before this incident, that's when my landlord did all of this horrible stuff to me. And the last thing I wanted to deal with was this condescending customer threatening to sue me because she tripped outside. Like, it's not something I wanted to deal with. So even though I knew all of these things, even though I knew that it was not my legal responsibility for her well-being tripping on the sidewalk outside, even if it was my fault, it wasn't my fault, because it's not my building, it's not my sidewalk, it's not my concrete. But it still added stress, because it was like it was one more thing I was going to have to deal with. And I did not need another big thing like being sued by a lady who claims that she got a concussion. That's the last freaking thing I needed in that moment. So even though I knew all of these things, and I knew I had insurance, and I knew it wasn't my legal responsibility, it was still added stress that was put on me, and it just made that week so much harder. And honestly, I was really mad at her a little bit, because I mean, it's not like she knew everything that I was going through, but I was mad at her because, like, the audacity to do that to a business owner and put that kind of stress on a business owner that it's not even their legal responsibility. You know, she knew I didn't own the building, but it's like she was trying to make my life hell by making it as hard as she possibly could. You know, she was calling me with updates, telling me how hurt she was, and could she have really been that hurt? Yeah, she could have really been that hurt. I'm gonna come back and spoiler alert, I don't think she was really that hurt, but could she have been that hurt? Yes. But I was hurting too. Like, I was on the brink of losing my business, I thought. I was on the brink of bankruptcy. I was on the brink of losing everything. And there was this lady who, at the time, I felt had the audacity to try to claim that I caused her all of this injury when... Anyway, you get what I'm trying to say. I'm really not trying to sound heartless. I'm really not, but I know I sound heartless. I'm not trying to sound heartless, because she very well might have tripped on the concrete and really hurt herself. But the way she presented it, it didn't sound like she was actually hurt. It sounded like she was looking for something else, if you catch my drift. So because it was over the weekend, I tried really hard not to contact the property manager, because I had talked to the property manager. God, my hair is doing something crazy today. I had talked to the property manager so much that week, going round and round about the landlord. So there's a difference between the property manager and the landlord. So the landlord is the one who owns the building and controls my lease. The property manager is just the one that is in charge at the property management company that the landlord hired. So I have never personally spoken with the landlord. The only way I'm able to do anything, go back and forth, it's with the property manager. So for the last 3 days, I had been going back and forth with this property manager about the situation with the lease. And so when this lady fell and starts threatening to sue me, the last thing I wanted to do was call the property manager, because I had been talking to him so much over the last week already. Frankly, I was sick of hearing his voice. The whole situation made me want to vomit. I didn't even want to think about the store. I didn't want to think about the property. I didn't want to think about anything. And now this was one more thing I had to deal with. So I waited as long as I possibly could, and then I reached out to the property manager to tell him about this, because I knew that I needed to, because this was their responsibility. You know, this was on the property management company to manage the property and make sure that there was no hazardous walkways so that the landlord wouldn't be sued, which it looked like it was going to happen, because believe me, I made sure to tell her who the building owner was. Anything I could say to her to get the heat off of me, because she started threatening to come after me for the money for all of these tests and things that she had done. Believe you me, after going through all of this with the landlord and the property management company, I was singing like a bird about who the owner of this building was. I was telling her, I was like, well, you know what? I just rent. So this is their contact information. You're just going to have to reach out to them. If you have medical bills that you're going to need covered because of this, that is called common areas. That is not me. This did not happen inside my store. So I nicely basically told her, you might as well stop updating me, because this has nothing to do with me. She kept she kept just like updating and updating and updating. And I'm like, okay. Because you know what my mental state was at this time? I very politely said, ma'am, this has nothing to do with me. I rent the building. You need to be discussing this with the landlord. This has nothing to do with me anymore. I hope you feel better, but here's their number. Call them on Monday. So I ended up, I think I'm done with this. I need to move this now. So I waited as long as I possibly could, and then I was like, okay, now that I've told this lady all about the property management company, the landlord, now that I've told her all of this, I should probably notify the property manager. Oops, that was kind of loud, sorry. I was like, okay, maybe now I should contact the property manager and let them know that likely first thing Monday morning, they're going to be called by an irate woman claiming that she fell down in the parking lot and she had $25,000 worth of procedures done. She got a concussion. She can't walk. She's probably going to miss work. I mean, let's be honest. She's probably going to say that she needs to miss work because of this. So I let the property management company know that this was coming down the pike. And surprisingly, the property manager was super nice about it, and he also reassured me that it was not my responsibility and that he would take care of it. So I think it needs to be said, now that I've kind of told you about what happened with the landlord and everything, I do think it needs to be said something good about the property manager that I've been dealing with. So I know that I mentioned that, you know, snooty girl that like served me with the papers about the $1,800 bill. She was not the property manager. She was just a peon at the firm or whatever. The actual property manager that I've been dealing with, he's actually a very nice guy. And part of me kind of felt bad for him because he is the one that had to take all of these balances owed to all of these companies. Like I mentioned, there was a lot of businesses that went under because they got served with large bills. Their rent more than doubled. Because the new property management company had to correct the problems of the previous property management company for the landlord. And so this guy, his job was to basically go ruin people's lives. And he tried to do it in the nicest possible way. He was not a jerk to me at all. You know, when he brought me the bill, he was very kind to me. He was kind to my husband. He, you know, talked through all of it with us. You know, he was the middleman that went back and forth with the landlord when we were trying to work out a deal so that I could stay in the space without giving the full $42,000 within 30 days. You know, we negotiated payment terms and a lump sum, and it was the property manager that coordinated all of that. And so he was very kind during the whole process. So I don't want to say that he's a bad guy, because he's not. I think that was the one light in this entire situation with the landlord, was the property manager was actually pleasant to deal with. The situation was horrific and traumatizing and just all around bad, but it would have been made a lot worse had the property manager just been a total jerk, which he absolutely wasn't. So when I called the property manager to tell him about the situation, he was again very kind, and he told me, you know, absolutely do not worry about this. He said the sidewalk is 100% the landlord's responsibility. You know, we're the ones that will carry the insurance. We're the ones that are going to deal with this woman moving forward. You know, just continue to tell her to leave you out of it. It's the landlord's building. He said, give them, you know, my office extension. He says, I will handle it. And I think that he was trying to make it easier on me because he knew what I was going through. You know, when the property manager was standing here in the store with a list of accounts showing me how much money I owed, I was in tears, you guys. Like, there's no way that I could have gotten that information and not just bawled my eyes out. So, you know, he was here and he saw how much this hurt me, and he knows how many businesses were closing down because of this situation. And you know, push come to shove, the property manager's not the landlord. He doesn't get to make the calls, the landlord does. And so he was kind of put in this position where he got to be the bad guy for the landlord. And I understood that. But he knew what I was going through. And so when this happened with this lady, you know, he told me, he was like, Lindey, do not worry about this. This is not on you. This is on us. Give her this number. Give her that number. Stop making her think that this is your responsibility. She needs to stop updating you. I will take care of it. You know, and he was talking to me about this on a Saturday. It was his day off and he was still taking care of it. But, so weeks go by and I keep in touch with the property manager about the situation because I want to know exactly what's happening. And nothing ever happened with it. Nothing ever happened with it. She never sued. From what the property manager told me, he told me that he basically notified their team of lawyers, which, remember how in the other video I said that I was afraid to buck up and take him to court because I knew that the landlord had deep pockets and a whole team of lawyers? I found out I was right in my thinking there because, yeah, I found out from the property manager that the landlord had basically a team of lawyers, and they, I guess, scared this woman out of even trying to sue. The team of lawyers that the landlord had, I guess, ended up, now I don't know all of this verbatim, this is just kind of what I was led to believe. This is kind of what I was led to believe. I was led to believe that the woman was told, we have this video that shows this. You're not parked in a parking spot. You were walking where customers shouldn't even be walking. The area that you're claiming that you tripped on camera, it shows that that's not where you tripped, because had you actually tripped there, it would have been on camera. So they basically told her all of this stuff, and I think they basically scared her out of suing. But anyway, that's the story of how a lady threatened to sue me for falling outside on April Fool's Day during Hell Week in my life. It was a bad week. It was a bad week. Guys, I'm gonna go for now so I can finish pricing all of this stuff and get to all of the other carts that need done. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already and ring that notification bell. That way you're notified whenever I post a new video. Don't forget to like the video for the algorithm. I really appreciate it. Questions or comments, feel free to leave down in the comments below. Thank you guys again so much for watching. I will see you with my next video. Bye-bye.